Welcome back to our conversation, Cybersecurity Analytics and Big Data, sponsored by Cloudera on federalnewsradio.com and 1500 AM. My guest today is Eddie Garcia, Chief Security Architect in the Office of the Chief Technology Officer at Cloudera. I'm your host, Jason Miller. Now, Eddie, before break, we were just talking about data analytics and how much improvements that we've seen over the last, 3, 4, 5 years. Now we're getting to the point where it's near real-time, or actually real-time data analytics is happening. Talk a little bit about the latest advances there and how that's really impacting and influencing how agencies protect themselves.
Yeah, so there's been many innovations around Hadoop, a big data platform. It started with the core of HDFS, being able to store massive amounts of data. But now we're starting to build and see a lot of new tools on top of it. For example, Spark and Spark Streaming, being able to ingest data in a velocity that we weren't able to ingest before. Now we've just released recently Kudu, and it's another Cloudera platform that's going to provide even better ways to analyze data more in real time.
So let's delve into that just a little bit. Don't get into the bits and bytes too much. I know you can, but when you talk about Hadoop, explain what that is, and then how do those other platforms you talked about ride on Hadoop?
Yeah, so Hadoop is basically a platform for big data, and it is governed. It's open source. It's Apache license, and what it allows organizations to do is very inexpensively store massive amounts of data distributed across systems. And for some time, there was platforms to be able to do batch type jobs that organizations typically would run and take them days. They were able to run them minutes. Now, with the new capabilities that we're seeing with Spark and Kudu and Impala, we're starting to see organizations be able to get even at much quicker responses. And this is really where we need to go for cybersecurity. So if you're looking at data that's a few minutes old, it's too late. So you need to be looking at the data real time. So we need to be able to detect those issues and being able to react to them. Do I need to segment the network? Do I need to shut down servers? Do I need to revoke privileges? So the quicker that we have the information, the quicker we can react and reduce the damage from potential incident.
And I think that's a key point, what you explained there. People will hear you say minutes. What's wrong with minutes? I mean, if you can learn something in minutes, you can react. But really, if you see a bad thing that's happening on your network, and then it takes you it happened 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes ago, that bad actor could be somewhere else now, and you would there's no trail potentially. I think that's really the key here is understanding what's happening in, again, real time, or as close to real time as you can, and then reacting and making mitigation factors. That's really what you're getting to.
Exactly, and sometimes we'll have maybe an actor that's coming on one system, and quicker you're able to detect it, you can start to prevent or lock down other systems. So bad actors will come in and do lateral movements, so you want to prevent them from doing those lateral movements.
And that goes back to our early part of our conversation about cybersecurity and data security. You can have all the data security in the world, but once they're in their network, that's where the cybersecurity needs to kick in, the two-factor authentication as an example. One of the other things is okay, so you have this Hadoop platform. It's great. I can keep everything forever. Okay, now how do you deal with the fact that data overwhelmed by too much data, and you almost get paralysis by analysis, right? Or analysis by paralysis.
Yeah, so you should only collect the data that you need. I think that's one of the
That's easier said than done.
Yeah, so exactly. But that's one of the things that we really need to focus on. And so just came back from Hadoop World. DJ Patel, our chief data scientist, had a keynote and really reinforcing the need for ethical data ethics and being able to understand these type of things, like if I don't need the data, why am I collecting it? But if you do need the data, collect it, store it, and actually hold on to it, because you're going to be able to gain insights from it. So it's really if you first understanding what you need to collect, and then if you do need to collect it, protect it, and then hold on to it. And with Big Data Platform, you'll be able to collected for a long period of time.
You bring up data ethics. I think that's a great point to kind of continue down that path, because what do you collect, how you collect it? Sometimes the government specifically, they're forced to collect stuff that they really don't need or don't want anymore, and then they can't control where the database is, meaning, oh, this can only be in this database but not that database. Talk a little bit about what you learned or some of the insights around data ethics.
Yeah, so kind of, and also going back to the analogy around medicine, so, similar to how in medicine we have doctors that take the oath of Hippocrates, in the same way, we need an oath for data use. And if you're going to collect PII, being able to determine whether it's for good use or not. So that's one of the things that more and more organizations need to have within their compliance office or governance, whatever offices that are overseeing these data, that they have someone that is overseeing the ethics component of it. Many times organizations don't even understand the implications of how data may be potentially abused in the future. So that's why it always goes back to, if you don't need to collect the data, don't collect it, but if you collect it, you need to protect it.
This leads me down to the next question, of course. How do you know what you need, right? Because the feeling is you got to take everything and then figure it out later. What are some of the ways to make that decision? Is it a mission? Is it prioritization? Is it knowing what you need when you need it? Give me a sense.
Yeah, I mean, there needs to be a true business value of why you're collecting that data. So, for example, if it's a mobile app and just because you want to collect a geolocation, if you really don't need it, there's no really true business purpose for it, you shouldn't collect it. If you can tie into an existing login password mechanism, go ahead and do that. So why do you need to collect again another login password now that you need to protect it?
I'd like to get rid of all my login and passwords and do it only once. It's a job for all of us, right? Well, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we can talk a little bit about open source, which obviously you mentioned with Hadoop and some other things that are going on around big data and analytics. You're listening to our conversation, Cybersecurity Analytics and Big Data, sponsored by Cloudera on federalnewsradio.com and 1500 AM.